So hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with...
And I am Ian from Marianas Trench.
And we have some questions to say about their upcoming album, Haven. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
It's good. The music's different, as always, with our albums. So I think people like it. You never know when you change up so much. Sometimes you're like, are they going to like it? Are they going to not like it? So response has been good. People like it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say when the whole album comes out.
Hell yeah. The album is awesome. It's quite the journey.
It's so fucking good.
Oh, yeah, because you guys have heard the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so you know. Okay.
Yeah. We know what they're in for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Do you like it?
Yes.
Love it.
Good.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Well, then you can tell the folks what you like about it. Tell your listeners.
We will when we review it when it comes out officially.
Yeah, we actually did get a couple comments, people asking us to review the album. So we will be doing it.
Good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So excited. Yeah. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Haven. I guess cover art Josh came up with. Like, we've had a graphic designer that I think we've worked with since I don't think he did Masterpiece. He did Ever After. He lives out in Ontario. He's great. His name's Garnet. I think he kind of came up with the idea, and we really liked it just because it was kind of different with the paper cutouts. Haven. It's funny. We tried to find like weather related album titles. There was nothing cool that we came up with. And then we looked some things to do with storm, but we just couldn't find anything that worked. And then Josh, we were throwing it around for a while. He thought about Haven, and we liked it because Haven's kind of like, a secure place to go from the storm, I guess. So maybe that's what the music represents.
All right. Hell yeah, I love it.
I love it.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
Josh is the main cook in the kitchen. We're all chefs, but he creates the menu. He usually comes up with ideas, and then, like, I guess for him, he actually writes he doesn't sit down at a piano or a guitar. He just sort of writes while doing everyday things, comes up with melodies, and see if in general, if they stick into his head, he determines, it must be all right. If he forgets it, he thinks it's like, it wasn't good enough. When we write, we don't really do demos anymore. He just he's got the main idea and he lays it out. And then we gradually start building the tracks, or just the guitars, bass, whatever, keys, strings, all of that on top of it. He usually does lyrics last. He's more of a melody first kind of guy. Huh. And the weird part is, if you guys, I'm sure you've done a ton of, interviews with bands. Usually people do the beds first, which are bass, drums, guitar, right? We do the drums last.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Which is cool for me, but also pressure, because you're like, if it sounds 1 millimeter out, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
The reason why is because Josh changes, or his ideas change a lot throughout the process, right? So we program the drums at the beginning, and then if the mood changes or he thinks the part changes, because obviously you can tell our music kind of has a lot of layers. So often his ideas will change. So then we just reprogram the drums, and we kind of program things together. And then at the very end, once he's certain that this is the way it is, then I go in and replace the programmed drums with real drums. So in a way, it's kind of easy, because you're like, this is the part. You just go home and work on the part and then execute it. But then I guess also, like, today you can edit the living daylights out of music, which a lot of bands choose to do, but you try and get it as close as humanly possible. And then you might nudge around some of the parts that feel like they're not quite perfect. But I try my best to get it as perfect as I can, but it's hard to replace a machine being a human.
True.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned you don't really demo anymore. So is it like Josh brings the idea and then that's the one that everyone's sold on, you guys are working on it? Or is there ever a time in the process where it's like something is not clicking and it gets scrapped?
Oh, definitely. That definitely happens. I think what happened after the first album is we did the songs a few times. You demo it, then you get a better version of it, especially when you're trying to like shop producers or shop into labels and all that kind of stuff. And what Josh found was his original vocal take always had the most magic. And he had a very hard time replacing that just sort of the goosebumpy type feeling, or just there's a certain energy that comes from the first vocal take.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's kind of the reason why we don't demo anymore. Ideas definitely get scrapped, or sometimes he's got the right song, but he might, how do I describe it? Like the treatment was wrong. Like, so I guess it was produced in a way, it wasn't the right for the song. So maybe a song should have been heavier and we went more poppy, or song should have been, or was more poppy. And we're like, yeah, it should be heavier. So sometimes he keeps the idea and keeps the melody, but just goes back to the drawing board. Or else sometimes he's like, it's too fast. You know what I mean? Once you get everything over top, so you just go back to the beginning and redo it all, kind of thing. But definitely songs get scrapped. What was one on the album? Ancient History. That one got redone totally.
Oh.
I think a couple times, and that more had to do with the production treatment.
Okay.
But usually what Josh will do too is like, so you know what, this verse is great, but the chorus sucks. And if he can't come up with the chorus, he just kind of banks the verse idea, or banks the chorus idea, and maybe saves it for a later date or for another album, kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And while writing, is it kind of Josh just coordinating everything, writing everything, and then bringing you guys in, or is it a collaborative process?
Both. But usually when he's first coming up, like say he has the idea in his head, when he first presents it, like when he needs a little bit of time to get it down. Like, so he goes in, when you're starting from scratch, right? Like a painting, I guess it would be the same thing. There's nothing there, right? So he kind of just needs a day or so to get enough of the idea down, so then we can make comments. The hard part with Josh is the guy's got a huge brain. So he often has, like, I might suggest something for the drums, which sounds cool, or another part that sounds cool, but the problem is it won't go with another part that's in his head but not yet down. That makes sense? So sometimes he's quite good, honestly, to be like, he's like, put a pin in it. Well, maybe we'll come up with that later, but there's other parts that that aren't down yet. And we have to see if they jive with that. But he also is the same thing with, he might have ideas. It's not just us that they're not down yet, but he's wondering, will this work or will it not work? You know what I mean? It's not necessarily him or us. It's just, there's so many layers that you just don't know until you hear how something lays on top of something else, or how it coordinates. But yeah.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what song off the album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
What took the longest to write? Ooh. I don't know. Because sometimes we work on them for a while and then stop and then go on another one, depending on, like, Josh might, it's hard because he's so picky. Like, he really, he's very just meticulous. And sometimes he's like, I love it and I hate it. And he's like, is it good? Is this awesome? Or is it just crap? It's like, you kind of like, you're so inside it, you just don't know. So sometimes you take a little bit of a break. I know for sure the first song took a long time. A Normal Life, especially that intro part, because he tried really hard. I think he was in listening to a lot of movie soundtracks. So that intro before the band kind of comes in, tried to get it to sound very like it could be in an epic movie, right?
Yeah.
That sort of stuff takes a while to program. I don't know, but my favorite always changes. I really like the end of Turn and Run. I kind of like that they're the epic heavy guitars. And I like Turn and Run because it's kind of moody. Even though I had very little to do with it, because it's just kind of Josh and acoustics and strings and that kind of stuff. I think Stand and Fight has got a lot of emotion to it. And probably it could be Worlds Collide is my favorite right now, just because it's kind of, it's almost like an album closer that's not the closer.
Yeah.
Like a kind of like a master. Are you guys familiar with Masterpiece Theater? It's kind of like the middle medley kind of thing, right? But that one, a lot of work went into the strings and horn parts, and we had like an actual symphony in a big recording studio. So it was just anytime you do that, it's awesome to watch, because I kind of grew up playing in high school. I was in concert bands and wind ensembles and all that stuff. So I'm a music nerd in that way, and I just love hearing like that instrumentation all over again, and especially because they're like super pro. Like for me, I'll get like whatever, it takes me 5-6 takes before I'm happy with my drum take, and they're like, there's like 30 people in there and they're nailing it on like it's really good enough on the first take, but they might just want more emotion or more this or more that. The pro symphony players are like slick. They're so good. So it's like, here come the real musicians.
Yeah. The talent from the people that play those kinds of instruments at like the pro level, I'm like, forget about it. There is no better musician.
It's different. It's more thematic, like a jazz player or a symphony player. They might be less, I don't know, like a band like bass, drums, guitar might be more, I don't want to say rhythmically precise because they are also very precise, but they have more motion. It's more like of like a big body of water. Yeah. And even though it's like calm, you can see that there's little, there's movement to it. So they're more musical in that way, but sometimes less like super precise. Where in this world of pop and rock, everything gets, if you're not already a good player, it gets machined and edited together, right? So everything is just perfect. Yeah. So I guess maybe they're amazing musicians, maybe slightly less perfect, but maybe that's what also makes them more human. Like they're very human, right? They're almost more in touch with their emotions, if that makes any. I don't know how else to word it.
Yeah. Makes sense. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be a closer, shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
Well, this one we had more of a rule book that we had to stick to because Josh kind of based the album as like, it's kind of follows the hero's journey, which was what was it? The book by Joseph Campbell. I think it's Hero of 1,000 Faces. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. And basically it kind of like outlines plot points that almost every major, like a movie like Star Wars has, or Harry Potter, they all kind of follow like a certain story. Like, the beginning, you discover that you're meant for this journey, and then you meet a mentor, and and so on and so forth. So we had to stick to very precise plot points. So I guess Josh had, lyrically speaking, had to write about, as I think he's going to come up with a little booklet. I think actually there is it in the album? I don't know. I can't remember. I think it is in the album, if I'm not mistaken. It's been like such a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It's completely fair.
He has the plot points written out. So I think each song you kind of get a gist of what he was going for.
That's fucking awesome. So the track list was kind of already set in the regard that like he had to follow that outline. Yeah, we did. That's the thing, is we didn't like write songs and then, where does this song go? He did it kind of the opposite way. You're like, it has to start here. We still need, he might have written a song. He was like, okay, that goes well for this plot point, but I still have to get these earlier plot points down because I haven't got that yet. So he didn't necessarily write it in order, although the closer was the like the last song. And he usually does it that way too, because he always brings elements of earlier songs into the closer, and you kind of need to have the album almost finished unless the ideas that you want to lay down in the closer. But yeah, he had to follow specific plot points. So I guess it was like a rule book he had to follow.
Yeah, good guideline.
Yeah.
So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
When we're writing it, it's like, it's easy in a certain way because it's like we're programming the drums, right? So for me, I don't have to execute anything. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's super neat to I think the parts I come up with, or we come up with, are better than if I'm sitting behind the drums, because I can sit and watch how the music's being created, and I can help to write or create for what's right from the song rather than what's right for me. Because sometimes when you're drumming, or any musician, you just have a way that you play, right? But when you're actually sitting and listening to everything as a whole, you create, your creations are more what's suited to the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So does that kind of put you in a box at all, where you're kind of like, well, I kind of wish we did go with, whatever flowed out of me in that moment? Or do you prefer kind of everyone's input at that point?
Both. Both. There's like in the opener, there was a drum beat that I still think is cooler than the one that's there.
Yeah.
And I preferred it, but I lost that. I lost that battle.
Damn.
It doesn't really matter. I try and like also let go, right?
Yeah.
But both are true. It's great to hear everyone's input. And I think for the most part with our band, what's good is we're all pretty try and serve the music as best as possible. You know, everyone has their stubborn tendencies, but I think we're all pretty good at letting go and doing whatever serves the song the best. So, and we're not perfect, but we don't really ever get into arguments, or you know how you see bands, it just we don't do that at all, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Usually I would say Josh is right probably 90% of the time, and then 10% of the time he does listen. He's like, let me just think about it, right? So he won't. He's actually quite good at that. He'll say, I like the idea, but I have to think about whether it works or not. So he's definitely receptive to, and everybody in general is receptive to what the song needs.
Good.
That's good. Oh yeah.
Happy to hear that.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should do in the car with friends, in dark with headphones on? Is work at album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Definitely. Well, you can always work and party later, but I would definitely, if it was me, I'd put on headphones. I'd like light a scented candle. But I would just put on headphones and probably put myself in a sensory deprivation type scenario.
Yeah.
And then just listen that way. You know, like I don't want to say in a dark room, but like is the least amount of distractions possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
Oh, I don't know. 3 words.
3 words.
Make it yours.
Oh.
And what I mean by that is lately we've really been trying to focus on people will ask us, what does that mean? What does it mean? And we kind of rather you choose what it means for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what do the lyrics mean to you? What does the music mean for you? What kind of emotions does it evoke? What mental place? You know how whenever you're listening to music, sometimes it puts you in a good mood, a bad mood, like motivated mood. You know, I'm going to like conquer my own past demons mood, or just, you know, like helps you to forget problems and troubles. So do what's right for you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It does.
I love it.
Yeah. Or like not do what's right for you. That's not necessarily correct. Like it should mean something different to you than it does to somebody else. Right. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it means to me or to that other person. It matters what it means for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Grab your own meaning from the art, because once it's out there, it's like in a way no longer the band's, it's the people's now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So can you talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
Well, right now I'm just practicing a ton because we got 2 weeks left, and it's the freaking, you know what I mean? It's the vocal parts over the drums. It's the hard part. Like, so we were in a hotel room the other day doing a bunch of press, or like we were on a press tour, and then we were in a hotel room afterwards, and we're basically, Josh has given us all the vocal parts. And I guess that's really just kind of the hard part to execute. That's the challenging stuff. And also a lot of the times the writing isn't necessarily straight ahead for me, like a straight ahead drum beat. You know what I mean? It's more of an orchestral approach to it. So I got to put in a lot of work. I always feel like everything's done to a click, you know, like a metronome. And I've been working so hard, and there's just moments where you're like, I freaking suck, you know, like I think that all musicians kind of go through that. You're like, it sucks, you know, but then you listen to it afterwards, you know, it's all right, it's not bad. But you go to try and be perfect is so hard. And I think that's the frustrating part, is trying for perfection. But I guess that's what also pushes you to be great and pushes you out of your own comfort zone. So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
Oh gosh, probably coffee if it's daytime. If it's night, honestly, this is going to be so lame. Like something like a banana, like
A
something
banana.
that's not health, like that's healthy and not junk. Because otherwise, I'm just going to eat junk, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so that's the hard part is something healthy or like nuts or trail mix. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There you
Trail
go.
Yeah,
mix. Okay.
Love it.
And if you were
lame,
eating junk,
super
junk,
lame,
junk,
super lame. If
super
it's junk, lately I
Mhm.
don't know, into salt and vinegar chips or beef
damn right.
jerky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beef jerky isn't junk, junk, junk. You know, it's protein, right?
It's pretty junk. I don't know. It's probably pretty carcinogenic, I would think. Whatever they have to,
Yeah.
it's like so. Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
bet
wouldn't do.
It's like towing the
if
line,
you
I
read the
think.
Yeah.
ingredients list, there's a lot of things on the back there you probably can't pronounce.
That's
Yeah.
not beef as well.
Yeah.
Tough.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Ooh, what would we be? I want to say it's just that's I like pasta, so I want to say some type of pasta with like complicated recipe, but I don't know if that's necessarily right. Um, maybe I think Josh would probably say something like a beef Wellington, where it takes a
Oh.
you need time to cook it and you got to do it right, and
Mhm.
it's not easy to do, but if you nail it, you nail it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, love it.
Damn right. All right. So
Yeah,
for the last couple questions, we're actually gonna shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
sure.
Great. So we're actually gonna go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Drink. Well, it's a double bourbon of some type.
Okay.
Um,
Solid.
Probably, yeah, double bourbon of some type. And what
Mhm.
meal? Oh, you know what? It would be just greasy Chinese food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, that's it.
What's
Greasy
your
Chinese
go-to dish?
Yeah.
Something with noodles. I'm a carboholic,
Yeah.
so
Hell yeah.
something like a thick udon noodle style or a chow mein of some style.
Oh,
Damn
yeah.
right.
Love it.
Mm.
So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Ooh, I would probably go. Freaking, I'm a Harry Potter fan, so I love that world. That, or as long as it wouldn't get eaten somewhere where dinosaurs are.
Yeah.
Solid.
That
Yeah, I
makes
feel
sense.
like that's safe.
I'd love to see what dinosaurs were all about, but I'm pretty sure something would kill me within an hour. You know what I mean? Whether
Probably.
it's a bug
Yeah.
or yeah. But if we're
Yeah.
living in like nothing's gonna happen to me, I'm not gonna die, I would go, yeah, some Jurassic era.
Okay.
Damn right. And back to Harry Potter for a second. What house are you?
I've done 2 different tests, and I think they took the official one, got taken down or something like that. Potter, I can't remember. I remember fans being like, "You got to do this test," and I
Yeah.
think I've done them twice, and once I was Ravenclaw, and once I was Gryffindor.
Oh,
Yeah,
solid. Yeah.
so I
That's
think maybe
good.
it depended on my mood and how I answered the questions.
Yeah. How you
Yeah.
feeling that day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Solid. And I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
I don't know. Can I say it doesn't make any sense. Lately, I like orange a lot. I
Okay.
like bright. I look my shoes. I look like I'm a highlighter because I always like to wear like bright orange or bright red shoes.
Mhm.
It's either that or black.
Okay.
All right.
Solid.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So as
Yeah.
Gloria said, that's all the questions up today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
No, I just listen to the album. I hope you enjoy it. I guess I would give it like any other of our albums. Give it a few listens before you decide what you like and don't like. Because sometimes when you hear something new, people are like, "Oh, I love it," or "Oh, I hate it. I wish it was more like this." But just give it many listens and then make it your own. Just choose your own journey where your head goes when you're listening to it. Don't worry about what we think or what others think. Just care about what you think.
Hell yeah. I love
Or
it.
just go deep into the music. You know what I mean? Go as deep as you can and then enjoy the emotions that come out and enjoy where your mind takes you, I guess.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Wonderful.
It's been Ian from Marianas Trench, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.